Hello guys and welcome to episode 2 of the IWIN series. Now, today I'm going to be going through what I wish I knew over the last week. And to start off with, just to give a bit of context, we signed a new high-ticket client over the past week, which is really positive. And it's the first time we've ever signed a high-ticket client through ads, which is absolutely great because it gave that proof of concept, it pushed us in the right direction, showed what we're doing is actually working. Now, a few lessons came along immediately after doing this, right? And the first lesson that comes to mind, I've just got a list of just a few lessons to run through. The first lesson that comes to mind is that, basically the high ticket client came through, we made a little bit of money, so we're like, right, great. The problem that we had straight off the back of that was actually quite interesting. And there was basically, after signing this client, we're like, right, we need to adjust the way that we're working. And immediately some sort of like fears and insecurities and worries about how we're running the business started to come out. And what I realized I was doing is as soon as those kind of fears and worries came to mind, I was to some degree projecting them onto Adnan and be like, you know what is Adnan, I'm not happy with the way that you're doing this. You should be doing this a little bit differently. I didn't say any of this to him, but like this is what my mind was kind of jumping to. So I had to sit with myself for a little while and think, okay, I'm not happy with like some of the things that Adnan's doing, right? And Adnan's not doing anything wrong. Like this is just me being hypercritical. It's almost me just kind of like experiencing some success and then trying to protect it, and then going into that protective mode is almost like it's quite negative. And Adnan actually told me as well after we spoke about it, he said that he hears it all the time with like other business owners, with their partners. As soon as they experience a little bit of success, then relationships start to break really, really quickly. And I was really glad, like I was really happy with the way that I handled this. And the way that I handled it is, firstly, I acknowledged the thought that I had of like, I'm trying to project some sort of negativity towards Adnan. Why is this, right? And this was on the evening, so Adnan, like I wasn't even speaking to Adnan or anything like that. It was just a kind of me and myself. So I was thinking about, well, why am I having these kind of like thoughts? Why is it so negative? And I started breaking it down, and this is like a policy, a value, a moral that I want to take like into every area of my life, every relationship that I have, every like conversation that I have with people. And the theory or the principle is that learn to find your own faults first. If I'm not happy with something that Adnan is doing, I need to take a look at myself first before I look at anybody else. And that's just, in its simplest form, a really powerful piece of advice. Look at yourself and your faults first before you ever look at anybody else's. Okay? That's like just really fundamental. Okay? Now, as I started to do this, I started to realize that what I was trying to project on Adnan was actually a lack of security, a lack of belief from myself. And that was quite eye-opening for me. I was like, wow, I didn't take myself as the kind of person to jump to conclusions. I'm usually quite logical. My emotions don't usually get like, the best of me. So I was quite shocked when I realized that I was having this kind of thought process. And I actually went in the next day in the morning. I was like, Adnan, I need to just speak through a few things. So I basically just told him like what I was thinking, how I was feeling about the situation, what I wanted him to do, and the reasons why I wanted him to do it. And we just had a really positive conversation off the back of it. But I know for a fact that if I didn't sit with myself and work through these emotions, I would have just came into the next day with Adnan and said, hey Adnan, I'm not happy with this. We're going to change this. We're going to change that. Like, this is what we're going to be doing, right? And I don't want to just came out of like, he would have just like been hit with a load of things without really understanding why anything was going on. So that lesson of like, learn to find your own faults first. And when I said to Adnan as well, I was like, look, I realized that it was my insecurity around this or my fears around this happening that were causing me to do this. I think Adnan took that really well because he was also thinking in the like, I know Adnan thinks in this kind of way himself as well. It's like, what are the things that he might be doing wrong that he could also improve on, right? And he's only gonna really try and replicate that behavior if he sees it in me first. So me taking responsibility, saying, look, what am I doing wrong? How can I do things better? Then Adnan also, he wasn't doing anything wrong, right? But like moving forward, he'll also adopt that same mindset of, okay, G is the kind of guy that looks at himself first and looks at his own faults. I should also try and be similar to that, yeah? Because he's seen how good it is for the business, right? He sees the value in it. So it kind of starts with me. And I think that was like the first lesson that I thought was really important. Okay. Moving on to lesson 2. We've always had a financial goal of 25k a month. And this is like, it's somewhat daunting to say this, right? And 25k a month, like that doesn't worry me, that doesn't scare me. Like I have full confidence that with given enough time, okay, we'll hit 25k a month. I don't know exactly what that time horizon looks like. However, we'll get there, right? And when we do get there, me and Nana have already said, like from a financial point of view, like we don't really need anything else. We're not looking to expand much more than that. Like for the lifestyle that we want to live, that's enough. And we know that like from 25k a month, we'll increase the finances. You know, like we're gonna sell more, we'll have more experience, so on and so forth. However, what was kind of shattered this week for me is the belief that 25k a month is enough, or that's what I should be looking at. There's a really interesting video by Alex Hormozy that he released over the course of the week, and he basically breaks down like what investors look for when they're looking to acquire a business. And what it kind of gave me the perception of is like, I shouldn't be looking at the business through the lens of like, well, this is what I want and this is how I like to see things. But if I take a more holistic approach of like, okay, well, what actually makes a good business, that's going to influence my decisions and ultimately in a positive way, right? So let me break down like more specifically the difference between me trying to hit 25k a month and 5 million a year profit, 12 mil a year revenue, which is 1 mil a month in revenue. So 25k a month to 1 mil a month in revenue. That's just the goal that's changing, right? Which isn't that important, but it is pretty fundamental too. Okay. The reason why it's not that important is because when you're nowhere near the original goal, so we've still got a decent amount to go there. So we can just focus on 25k a month if we want. But the reason why it's important from a structural point of view is because if we're trying to think of how we build a business for 1 mil a month, that looks very different to how we're trying to build a business for 25k a month. And if we make the right choices now, it's going to be easier to go from 25k a month to 1 mil a month rather than just trying to think, how do I build a 25k a month business? Because I'll probably succeed in that. And once I've succeeded in that, if I'm trying to go from 25 to 50 to 100 to 1 mil, then it's going to be really difficult to do that because all the infrastructure and the approach of the business is just focused around 25k. Okay. So what I mean by that is like, let's say it's 25k a month and you're taking on like £500 clients. Okay. If we're taking on £500 clients, we would have to take on 50 clients to get to 25k a month. Okay. 50 clients is a lot for £500 a month. However, if we were then taking on 10k a month clients, right? That's like 2.5 clients for 25k. Okay. And that is going to be much easier to scale to hit to 100k a month, 200k a month, 1 mil a month, right? Even 1 mil a month, if I'm thinking about that, it shouldn't just be 10k a month. It might be 50k a month packages. Like, how do we actually build our business to go down that route where we can actually scale the business long term? Okay. Because if we start building the business and we just get loads of clients that are paying us like small amounts, then whilst that might satisfy mine and Adnan's finances in the short term, it's going to set us up to be having to deal with loads of clients on a small level, which ultimately is actually going to stop us and it's going to cost us time and effort to getting clients on a higher level. So what we're starting to set out is some much bigger packages. So let me give you an example. We're looking to introduce a 10k a month and 20k a month package, which will hopefully, not 10k a month, 10k a month over, 10k over 90 days, 20k over 90 days, right? Those are two packages that we're going to be introducing because realistically, that's actually what we want to be selling to sustain the business, right? That's going to be much easier for us to grow. And we can also deliver on that, right? From a value perception. Like we can work with clients that are already at a high level, help them solve problems that are costing them over 10k a month, which actually there's loads of problems that cost people 10k a month all the time, right? 20k a month. Like if we solve those problems, then we can be worth that much, right? So we're looking to introduce much bigger packages, okay? And off the back of introducing the bigger packages, it's going to make us much easier for us to scale, right? So that was lesson 2, okay? Think about bigger goals, set bigger targets, right? Because 25k a month, like we just will hit it. We just will hit it. And once we do hit it, we're going to be thinking, well, what's next? And how do we adapt the business model to allow for us to go even further? Okay. So it's easier to consider this now rather than in 6 years' time and then be like, oh, well, we need to change everything up now. Okay? So that's lesson 2. The third lesson that we learned, which is quite interesting, is, right? So I'm just going to be very honest, okay? There's a couple of people that we're trying to get into the community at the moment. And what we found is that they're being quite difficult to speak to in terms of like, oh, you know what it is, like, I'm not ready, or I'm thinking about this, or I'm not sure about that. Like, I'm not, like, there's just lots of questions about it, right? And it's making the sales process a bit long. It's making things like the back and forth negotiation. And ultimately what I realized is that there's a certain level of nurturing people, which is important, right? Like, don't get me wrong, nurturing is good. However, if you're trying to nurture like 10, 20, 30 different people, okay, maybe even 100, 200, and you're putting a lot of effort into nurturing them, what that should tell you is that your acquisition system is quite poor. Okay, and that's what it told me, right? Our acquisition system is quite poor because what we should be doing is finding the people that are already at the stage where they want to buy, they know our service, they know that they've got a problem and they want to fix it as soon as possible. So just for context, the high ticket client that we signed, they literally had 2 calls with us, I think. And after those 2 calls, they signed, right? Because they had the problem, they had the pain, and they were like, yeah, I need to solve it. I build enough trust with you. I know you guys, your system works, so I want to actually do it, okay? That's it. And if we can sign a high-ticket client on with just 2 calls, like, why are we spending so much time trying to sign, like, community clients or low-ticket clients, like, and nurture them and build them up and just constantly, like, follow up and, like, do all this stuff? Realistically, what it tells me is that there's actually a problem with the way that we're targeting people, right? And we're not finding the people that are in enough pain, that are really looking for a solution, because those people are out there. And it actually becomes a cost to try and find the people that aren't yet ready for your service and then spend time and money and mental energy trying to get them ready for your service when you can just find the person that's looking for your service and convert them. That also has a cost associated with it, right? Don't get me wrong. That can also be expensive to do. However, from my perception and the business that I'm running and the way that I'm looking at things, targeting those people is much easier because we've got a growing market. We've got a place where there's lots of pain. People are really struggling. And we've also got a market where people have got income as well. So in terms of like actually getting deals over the line, it's going to be a lot easier for us to focus on those people that have got that pain, have got that money, and want to get it solved as soon as possible because they're willing to take action quickly rather than trying to like convince people and pull them and try to get them to like just dragging them over the line. Because if I'm being real, like the problem with a lot of the clients that you're trying to drag over the line and be like, no, you should really invest, you should really come, you should really work with us. Like you're trying to do all this stuff. However, like there's a part of them that might be a deeper belief, which is like, I actually don't want this problem solved. Or they've got some other internal issues, which is actually stopping them from even receiving your service well. Okay. So for example, we've had it before where we'll be working with a client and they'll say like we've really had to push for the sale. We've really had to get them over the line and convince them and give them like entice them with other things. Like he has a discount, he has this, he has that. And when we do that, like the level of gratitude for a service is actually lower compared to other people that sign on for full price. They don't argue, they don't negotiate. They're just like, yeah, I actually need the service, so I'm gonna sign. Like I'm happy to sign on. Yeah, and that is there's a big distinction between those two people. And what I want to do and what I would like to focus my attention on and what I almost regret is the time spent on the people that, you know, you've really got to pull over the line. Because like I said, you can pull them over the line, but you're going to have to keep pulling them. Otherwise, they're just going to find their way back. And they're going to leave the business. They're going to leave the service. They're not going to be happy with it. Even if you deliver an excellent service, like you do everything, you go above and beyond, right? I've got clients where I go above and trust me when I say I go above and beyond, right? Like I'll do late night calls with them. I'll do extra calls. Like I'll connect them with extra people. I'll do everything, right? And that's more work for some of the lower paying clients compared to the higher paying clients who literally, like, I kid you not, they just hop onto the one hour a week coaching call. They just converse. They go through the motion, like they just kind of go through the service. And they get an excellent experience off the back of it because they're more ready to receive our service than some other people, right? So this targeting aspect of like exactly who you work with and finding people that are at the right stage in the journey to actually work with you, for me, is becoming much more of a priority moving forward. And I think that in like from a mindset point of view, is shifting the way that I want to target people. Like, I don't want to bring people in so I can put them onto my mailing list and like get them ready so 6 months down the line they can work with us. I don't want to work with people that haven't started a business yet and they don't know how to start a business and they've got no clue and they don't have the right mindset. Like, I don't want to do all that work to get them to the level that we're at so that we can actually work with them, right? Like, if they get to that level, great, and I'd always encourage that. But from my point of view, as running a business, like if you're behind a certain line, like, you're almost not ready to receive the service that we actually deliver. And the reason why that's becoming apparent to me is because I'm no longer in scarcity mode, right? Before, I was like, I need to sign anyone and everyone because I need the money, right? Once I'm not in scarcity mode, once I'm just thinking about, okay, like, what do I want from a business point of view? And like, what type of business do I want to build? Those kind of thoughts stop creeping up. They stop happening. So that's a really powerful mindset shift for me that I'm having at the moment. And yeah, it's quite interesting. We've always had a good vetting process. We've always worked with clients that we actually like, right? I don't think there's any client that I've ever worked with, ever, that I haven't like genuinely thought I'd get onto on a one-to-one basis. Like, everyone that I speak to, everyone in the community, all of the coaching clients, like, I actually enjoy speaking with them. So just from a qualification process, I'm ready to be more cutthroat with it because I believe it will benefit the business and ultimately save us time in the long run. So it's quite an interesting shift in terms of the way that I'm thinking about that. But these are the three things that I've learned over the past week. I hope you guys can take some value from this. I know that I'm going to be listening to this video again and again over the next week. I think that really helps me to just reinforce the lessons that I've learned. But yeah, I'm excited for another week, and I will speak to you guys next Saturday, Sunday, maybe even Monday.